It's Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, joined by Wade Neely, as I am pretty much every day. We're here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics, and excited to do so. Wade, how's your hump day?
Man, and hump day is great. Good to be with you, Mo. Good to be with everybody. Ready to rip and run. Busy show, but it feels great outside, and looking forward to spending a couple hours with everybody, kind of breaking things down this afternoon.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun. In the second hour of the show, we will be talking NASCAR with our NASCAR analyst, Heather Williams from WCYB-TV out of Johnson City, getting you caught up on what took place at Talladega over the weekend and what's to come out at Texas in Cup Series racing. So stick around for that. In the next segment, we'll be joined by Joe Reedy of the Associated Press. He covers the Guardians, the Cavaliers, and the Browns. So we'll be talking to him primarily about the Browns, but I guess we'd be a little remiss if we didn't ask him about the Cavs while we've got him on. But looking forward to checking in with Joe Reedy and getting a read on the Browns, particularly in their quarterback situation that is intriguing, to say the least. So
crowded room.
Yeah, a lot of desks in there. So gonna be an interesting situation up there, and looking forward to getting Joe's thoughts on that in the next segment. We'll also be talking some local colleges, talk a little Major League Baseball, Braves, Astros. There is some postseason play going on both on the hardwood and on the ice. We'll get you up to date on that as well. And again, it's Wild and Wacky Wednesday. We will close the show by bringing you the weirdest, wildest, wackiest, and most wondrous news from across the globe. So be sure and stick around for that in the final segment of the show. Going to be a lot of fun. Got a lot to get to, a lot to talk about. It's kind of that time of year, again, with the playoffs going on, and we're coming out of the draft, and everybody's feeling good about their teams in the NFL, and baseball is getting rolling. So a lot going on. So I guess we need to get it going on as well with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Strap in, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for your Wednesday rundown, and we kick things off with Tuesday results. And we'll start on the baseball diamond, where Grace Christian Franklin picks up a 12-0 win versus BGA. Battle Creek on top of Mount Pleasant last night, 12-5. It was an 8-0 victory for Webb School over Columbia Academy. Cornersville down in Culleoka, 6-2. And, you know, there are a few greater joys in life if you're a Giles County fan than beating Marshall County, but Giles County not only did that, they ended Marshall County's season with a 6-4 victory in district play last night. Sorry to our friends in Lewisburg there. Small diamond action. Softball scores coming in. BGA picks up a 15-0 win versus Grace Christian Franklin. Marshall County with a 13-3 win versus Centennial. Columbia Academy 6, Providence Christian 0. It was Santa Fe 12, Fayetteville 6. Eagleville and Forest did not have a score finalized. 0-0 was the last score we had. Not sure what happened there, but we'll see if we can get you guys an update. Franklin Road Academy topping Ezel Harding last night, 6-2. It was Zion Christian 10-1 over Franklin Road Christian. Giles County with a 12-2 win over Murfreesboro Central Magnet to finish the regular season unbeaten in district play. It was 2-0 favoring Springfield on top of Joe Burns. Lincoln County all over Spring Hill last night, 15-1. Loretto all over Lewis County, 18-3. It was Nashville Christian 13, Middle Tennessee Christian 1. Richland topping Battle Creek 13-2. Oakland with a 6-3 win versus Riverdale. Rockvale with a 7-5 win versus Blackman. Couple of games, couple of wins for Stewart County last night versus Clarksville Christian, 12-2 in an opener, 15-0 in the nightcap. Stewart's Creek picking up a 2-0 win versus Smyrna, and Summertown defeats Wayne County last night. 8-1 was your final.
On the pitch last night, boys soccer action. Spring Hill with a 3-1 win over Battle Creek. It was Blackman doubling up Oakland 2-1. Christ Presbyterian 7, White House nothing. Murfreesboro Central with a 5-0 win over DeKalb County. Rockvale 4, Green Hill 1. Laverne defeats Stewart's Creek 7-2. Siegel with a 3-1 decision over Riverdale. And Green Hill and Smyrna play to a 0-0 draw. Either that or they did not play. Anyway, flag football from yesterday afternoon. Ravenwood had a 13-12 win over Nolensville. Ravenwood also defeated Brentwood 21-6. Page defeated Nolensville 21-14. Brentwood down Fairview 25-19, and it was Fairview 32, Centennial 7. In Major League Baseball from last night, the Houston Astros continue their mastery of the Detroit Tigers 6-4 last night, and also the Atlanta Braves put themselves in position for a sweep out at Colorado with an 8-2 win over the Rockies. The Nashville Sounds defeated Gwinnett last night 3-1 as well.
Let's talk baseball a little more, but let's go to scheduling for tonight. And we start with high school action at 4 p.m., where Mount Juliet will meet Gallatin. At 4:30 this evening, Brentwood and Summit will play. 5:30 showdown for Huntland, who will be at Eagleville tonight. 6 p.m. first pitch, Warren County at Spring Hill, as well as Coffee County at Columbia. 6:30 showdowns for Hampshire versus Santa Fe. Kirkwood will be at Springfield tonight. Again, both of those at 6:30. At 7 p.m., closing us out, Ravenwood taking on Centennial. Hendersonville will meet Green Hill. Franklin will be at Independence, and Page will be at Nolensville. While I got you guys, let's go softball action for tonight. 5 o'clock will be your start times for a lot of these contests, including Liberty Creek at Creekwood. Waverly will be at Fairview. Zion Christian traveling to Frank Hughes tonight. Mount Pleasant will be on the road at Loretto. Hickman County traveling to Santa Fe, and Portland is visiting Springfield. At 5:30 tonight, it'll be Shelbyville at Spring Hill. And capping your softball slate in the Middle Tennessee area, at 6:30, you can catch Summit at Oakland.
Flag football action today. 5 o'clock starts for Nolensville at Franklin, Page at Independence. At 6 o'clock, Fairview and Nolensville will square off at Franklin. Page and Brentwood will face each other at Independence. At 7 o'clock, Brentwood is at Independence, Fairview is at Franklin, and Summit will take on Nolensville at 8 o'clock at Franklin. Major League Baseball action. This one is in progress right now. Started at 1:10 as the Tigers and the Astros wrap up their series. We got a score. 7-1 Detroit in the bottom of the third there. But the Astros are threatening, got a couple of runners on. So maybe they can slug their way back into this one. At 2:10, it'll be the Braves and the Rockies. That Tigers-Astros game, by the way, can be seen right now on the MLB network. Again, Braves and Rockies start here in moments. You can see that one on FanDuel. And at 6:05, the Nashville Sounds continue their series down at Gwinnett against the Stripers, 1 p. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks over at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And this news comes from a little east, a little up I-40, as Mark Wilson, longtime athletics director at Tennessee Tech, 21 years to be exact, has announced that he will resign from that position effective June 30th at the end of the fiscal year. Took over in Cookeville in July of 2004, and man, he's just been impactful across the board, athletically speaking, in that position for Tennessee Tech. And you know, as an MTSU graduate, I'm probably not supposed to say that, but man, he's just such a good dude, and he has been fantastic at what he's done. Tech has won 45 Ohio Valley Conference regular season and tournament championships and made 18 NCAA championships appearances during his tenure there, capped by the Golden Eagle 2018 baseball team that advanced to the Super Regionals. And it just feels like he has really elevated that athletic program as a whole over the time that he's been there. Really seems to have kind of stabilized it on a lot of fronts, including football.
There's no doubt. One of the great guys in college athletics, regardless of what size of an institution we're talking about. And man, he took them to another level. And as I'm, kind of listening to you kind of run through all those accolades, I'm also thinking every good AD, especially at a smaller, we'll call them, not Power 4 level, you have to do a lot of different things. But one thing that kind of slips through the cracks that has to be mentioned is kind of getting your hands dirty, really, in a lot of facets. And I love the release on Tennessee Tech's website. I mean, they show Mark taking a sledgehammer to some of the brick there at the TTU football stadium. But most importantly is kind of building facilities. Sometimes, you can build facilities from scratch. Sometimes you kind of have to take things and kind of make them your own. And transitioning the Cookeville Golf Club into kind of their practice facility and kind of their meeting space. Little shrewd moves like that are essential at smaller schools. And so I think it speaks to the depth of what this guy did during his tenure, one of the top 10 longest tenured active athletic directors. Whoever takes over will certainly have big shoes to fill up there in Cookeville.
Without question, they will have big shoes to fill, but they will also step into a better situation than Mark did. I mean, they've renovated both their baseball and softball facilities. They are in the process, as you mentioned, Mark taking a sledgehammer to the old Tucker Stadium brick steps there. They are renovating their football facility and a much needed upgrade there. There have been facilities upgrades. There have been program improvements. They have become a lot more competitive again across the board athletically since he got there. So, I mean, he's going to be a tough act to follow in Cookeville. And again, when you talk about a non-Power 4 situation as Mark Wilson and Tennessee Tech are in, one of the most important things you can do is be involved and be visible in the community and build relationships and that kind of thing. And Mark has done all of that. You talk about getting his hands dirty. There's an anecdote about him shoveling snow out of the bleachers one weekend for the TSSAA Blue Cross Bowl, just different things like that. Nothing was too small. Nothing has been too small for him to take on in that role as athletics director, doing whatever needed to be done to make the Tennessee Tech athletic program look and be as good as it could possibly be. And it's a resignation, which tells me that don't be surprised if this guy shows up somewhere else at some point, and wherever that is, they're going to be better for his addition, because he's one of the best guys I've met in this business. So congratulations to Mark going out after 21 years as athletics director at Tennessee Tech. Again, leaving it better than he found it, and that's all you can ask.
Absolutely. And if this is not the last stop, the next rodeo will be in good spirits and in good graces wherever he decides to bless that campus, wherever that might be. So Tennessee Tech has come a long way, and all those other kind of little nuances that you were talking about. I know we're talking about Tennessee Tech and you're talking about a Division I school, but I mean, those are paramount at a school of that size. You kind of have no other choice but to get creative in terms of facilities, but also you have no other choice than kind of pitch in, because you just don't simply have the resources that a lot of the other institutions have. So we shouldn't be surprised by this when we read through a lot of these accolades, because his reputation kind of preceded him. So well liked, so well regarded, spanning a number of different fronts, as you alluded to with the TSSAA there as well. So, I mean, a massive, massive salute as he gets ready to head out the door there in Cookeville.
Absolutely. He'll be missed. He's set a standard. Again, it's going to be kind of hard for the next person to reach, but I'm sure they'll do a great job in beating the bushes and getting somebody in there that can come as close to Mark as possible, because he's been fantastic. And again, he'll be missed. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we continue Wild and Wacky Wednesday, we will be joined by Joe Reedy of the Associated Press, talking a little Cleveland Browns football, among other things. Stick around.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
Wild and Wacky Wednesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. As we await the arrival of Joe Reedy of the Associated Press to talk a little Cleveland Browns football and their quarterback position in particular, a couple of developments around the second quarterback that they added to that room in this weekend's NFL draft. The NFL announced that the Atlanta Falcons and Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich will face financial penalties related to the prank phone call placed to Shadur Sanders by Ulbrich's son, Jax. And that was quite an expensive phone call, as it turns out. The Falcons got hit with a $250,000 fine, and Jeff Ulbrich has been fined $100,000 for failing to prevent the disclosure of confidential information. And it kind of makes sense. I don't know if the punishment fits the crime necessarily, but I do think that the NFL wanted to make sure that they sent a message that this is not to be tolerated. So the Falcons, we appreciate the NFL's swift and thorough review of last week's data exposure and the event that transpired due to it. We were proactive in addressing the situation internally and cooperated fully with the league throughout the process and accept the discipline levied to Coach Jeff Ulbrich and the organization. We are confident in our security policies and practices and will continue to emphasize adherence to them with our staff, whether on or off premises. Additionally, the Ulbrich family is working with the organization to participate in community service initiatives in relation to last week's matter. Okay. If you've been keeping up with this, apparently The story out of Atlanta is that Jax Ulbrich found this number for Shedeur Sanders that had only been distributed to NFL personnel and utilized it to make a prank phone call. I think he was holding himself out as a member of the New Orleans Saints front office and that they were getting ready to draft him. And obviously that was not the case. And folks say, well, it was just a prank phone call. It was a joke. One, again, you're violating confidential information that shouldn't be available to anybody. And what's the point? I mean, is that really funny?
I mean, I go back and forth on this because me at 21, this is right up, especially back then. And we're in the heyday of prank phone calls back then. Absolutely, I'm doing this. Me as, a 38-year-old man today, probably, it's so cringe I couldn't even bring myself to watch. And obviously this is the most famous, but, Tyler Warren and some others also were victims of this. I mean, apparently who knew, Mo, that crank calls are back, man. Bust out the old episodes of Crank Yankers at this point.
It's kind of nuts. Obviously, the levity is lost with the draft situation for Shedeur Sanders, as it turned out. But the Falcons are being duly hand slapped for this situation, and maybe folks will guard information a little bit more closely going forward. Speaking of Shedeur Sanders, we are joined now by Joe Reedy of the Associated Press, covers the Browns for them up in Cleveland. Joe, have you recovered from the weekend yet?
A little bit. I mean, I guess after the Dylan Gabriel pick, we thought surely this wouldn't happen, but kind of this is what this franchise does. I've joked with a couple of people, they're the pyromaniacs of the NFL. They just can't, like things settling down. Can we use
that? The pyromaniacs of the NFL?
Yeah, this is what they do. Jimmy Haslam last month said, we are not going to overreach on a quarterback. If the right guy is there, we will pick him. He didn't say if the right guys were there. We would pick them. And, when they made the trade with Jacksonville, it was kind of, they're accumulating extra capital. They might draft somebody in the later rounds for a third quarterback and, bring it in for competition and somebody to develop. And then all of a sudden you got two quarterbacks. I think New England did it last year, but the last time we've had two quarterbacks in the first 5 rounds was Washington in 2011, 2012.
RG3 and Cousins.
Yeah, that situation turned out pretty well for Washington and Kirk Cousins, but
2 or 3.
Who knows?
Yeah. I had forgotten about Drake May and Joe Milton, so I was getting ready to ask when the last time it was that a team took 2 quarterbacks in the same draft. So good knowledge there. But, you already had Joe Flacco. And I'm forgetting who else other than Deshaun Watson. Kenny Pickett. Yeah, that's why I forgot. So, how does this shake out, Joe?
I'm still wondering how 4 quarterbacks get snaps. I think with Deshaun Watson rehabbing from the Achilles, it's going to be similar to 2021 in Houston with Deshaun Watson. Out of sight, out of mind. Maybe shows up occasionally for the update on the rehab and everything. But Deshaun Watson, for all intents and purposes, has played his last snaps with the Cleveland Browns. That's done. That's over with. So Flacco, kind of a cult hero in Cleveland, from coming off the couch to helping them clinch a playoff spot in 2023, which, is the ultimate of irony that a Baltimore quarterback, the former Baltimore quarterback, becomes a cult hero in Cleveland with everything that's transpired with those two cities over the years. It would be, I guess it would be the equivalent of, in 10 years if CJ Stroud retired and all of a sudden came to Tennessee and came off the couch and led the Titans to a playoff berth. So, but, it probably right now I have Flacco as a favorite, Pickett second closest. And then with Gabriel and Sanders, it's going to be kind of, who gets the third string and everything. But also, with four quarterbacks totally, I think you got to play all of them at some point during the preseason to know what you got and everything. You can't just say this guy's our starter and isn't going to play during the preseason. You've got to give all of them a chance. How those reps are going to be divided and everything, that's a question that has been asked from Kevin Stefanski the 2 days of the draft, and it'll be asked over the next 3-4 months.
Joe, with
the
that
thing
being
about
said,
it is, you got to play all four of those guys because there's questions about all four of those guys, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Flacco with age. He knows Stefanski's offense, so he has the advantage there, and Stefanski's going to be back calling plays, even though Tommy Rees is the offensive coordinator. So there is that. Pickett, there's still a lot of questions over the years. And then with Gabriel and Sanders with rookie quarterbacks, you gotta see how that goes. Now, maybe for game one, it's the rookies that get the time, and then game two, it's the veterans that get the time. But if there's one team that dearly needed the Hall of Fame game this year, it might have been the Cleveland Browns, so they could have 4 preseason games to do all this. Instead, it's the Chargers and the Lions playing in Canton.
Joe, boots on the ground, what's the fan reaction? There was so much nationwide discussion about not just the Sanders situation, but also the two quarterback situation. What is the boots on the ground kind of fan reaction for a franchise that, as you said, needed quarterbacks and seemingly drafted their way into at least picking up a couple different options, if nothing else?
Well, let's go back to Thursday when everybody thought they were going to take Travis Hunter, and, generational player who the Browns GM, including, called the Shohei Ohtani of football. And it's somebody who was out in LA for 6-7 years and got to see plenty of Ohtani. I was like, yeah, I can kind of see that. Maybe more Ohtani if he played quarterback and defensive back, but still, wide receiver and defensive back, the comparisons are very accurate. They traded out of the chance to get Travis Hunter, joining a long line of times that Browns have traded down where it's like you could have had this guy, and instead, you got this. Journey played a concert here leading up to the draft where I think the second the Browns went up on the clock, they wanted to rush the stage because it's like even "Don't Stop Believing" for the comeback song or anything wasn't going to quell the fans' anger then. But I mean, Mason Graham, solid pick. Friday Schlesinger got that. Added a running back. The Dylan Gabriel pick was a surprise. He's left-handed and small. 1 out of 2 ain't bad as far as quarterbacks. 2 out of 2 on that, probably worse. But the guy is incredibly accurate. So is Sanders too. So they got the top 2 accurate quarterbacks in college football last year. And then around the 5th pick, when all of a sudden, the second and third round guys are up there doing their draft interviews, and all of a sudden there's a trade, and it's like somebody asks, well, how would you guys feel playing for Shedeur Sanders? And everybody's like, wait a minute, what? It's like, yeah, they just traded up, and it looks like they're going to take him. Andrew Berry worked for Howie Roseman. And I think there were a couple networks that were like, yeah, Philly's working to move up, and Philly might be the landing spot for Sanders, and Cleveland jumped the line and took him. But yeah, the fans love quarterback races and quarterback controversies. You got media that loves quarterback controversies because it's clickbait and stories and headlines for the next 6-7 months. And let's put it this way: fans love quarterbacks or when a star drops in the draft. The NFL draft on Saturday for the third day got
ratings bonanza.
Yeah. So it was a ratings bonanza for NFL Network, ABC, and ESPN that this happened.
There you go. Joe Reedy of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Joe, I don't know how Dylan Gabriel answers this, but I'm sure it was asked. How does he feel about a second rookie being there?
We don't know yet because he was in Hawaii and flying in on Saturday. So he wasn't there on Saturday for the second and third round picks. Oh, wow. It'll be an interesting question when rookie minicamp is next week. Like, all of a sudden, how do you feel competing? I mean, Dylan Gabriel, is a very veteran guy coming in as a rookie. He played at 3 different schools, knows a ton of different offenses. So for him, it's like kind of this is another day as far as coming into having to handle things.
Joe, what do you make of the talk, or kind of what's your gut tell you? Were the two quarterbacks, were they both chosen in synchronization, if you will, amongst whether that's GMs, or is there an element of owner's going to owner type to this situation with either one of these guys in your mind?
Well, the Sanders and Dion and Jimmy Haslam have talked a lot over the past 3-4 months. And if there was a time for an owner to come in and say, let's go get this guy, and it only cost you a later 5th round pick in a 6th, and you closed the draft that way. Yeah, there was probably some owner input into this. I don't think you can deny it. I mean, I think we saw the ESPN and NFL Network photos after the picks were made where you kind of wanted to go to Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry. If you feel okay, please blink twice. Mm-hmm. But I mean, also for the 1st round pick, they looked that way too. So at least there was some consistencies that way. But Jimmy Haslam was in the draft room. He was surely, and I mean, for where Shedeur dropped and everything, if you gave up a 5th and a 6th and didn't have to give up anything next year, I think that's perfectly fine. Just how you make the snaps and everything work, I think, is another thing too. I think also, not to be lost in all this, Bill Musgrave, who is the quarterback's coach with the Browns now, him and Dion played together in San Francisco. So there is some family ties that way. Pat Shurmur, the offensive coordinator at Colorado, was the Browns head coach for a couple years, was fired by the Haslams after the ownership change and everything, but at least Jimmy and Pat know each other and everything. So there is some 6 degrees of the Browns in all this situation. But I mean, if you're a Browns fan and also a Browns writer and you've been through this a while, and I kind of joked with somebody last night, it's like Shedeur Sanders this year, it's the Baker Mayfield of 2018, and sure as heck it's the Johnny Manziel of 2014 with with some of the stuff attached to it. Now it's up to the kid to prove everybody wrong, and that he comes in, works hard, keeps his head down, and kind of proves everybody wrong that he's a 1st or 2nd round talent who went in the 5th round. I mean, we've seen guys drop in the draft before. We've also seen 3rd, 4th round prospects who've gone undrafted. A guy going from the 1st and the 5th, never seen that before, unless there was a glaring red flag issue or past legal difficulties or anything. But for something like this was certainly something new and unique that we'd never seen before.
And Joe, I think that's the thing. The something like this, that nebulous something like this. I mean, what what is this? Is it ability, or is it, something else? I think that's the thing that a lot of people, myself included, are kind of wrestling with. I mean, the word has always been that if you can play, the NFL can kind of get over everything else. And yet we watch this play out over the weekend. What are the questions about Shedeur Sanders at the NFL level?
I think the athleticism is certainly there. Now, probably on some draft boards, there is the NFL fit versus what he did and how it can translate. I think Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski kind of said he's an old style pocket passer. Whether that still works in the NFL today is up to debate and whether to be seen. Decision making, certainly, because I saw him a couple of years ago with Colorado when they played UCLA. He does have a tendency to hang on to the ball too long and does take sacks. Now, how much of that was him with decision making? How much of that was the offensive line that Colorado had? Certainly in 2023. I think they did improve last year, but still, that was a high number of sacks. And I don't care what quarterback you are, it is kind of the same as running backs too. With the number of sacks you take, there is tread in everything. I mean, we certainly saw that with David Carr and a few, in college over the years too. So I think that, also with the headlines that Colorado generated the past 2 years, maybe it was a little bit hyped up over what the genuine thing was. I think there were probably some rooms that had a second or third round grade on them. I don't know how many had a first round grade on them. And maybe those that had the first round grade on them were places where quarterbacks are set. You really don't need them. And
right.
Even if he's coming in to compete for a 3 spot, do you still waste that number pick on something that you need to build that roster? Because this wasn't a sexy draft with quarterbacks. In fact, it was a below average draft with quarterbacks. Let's be perfectly honest. But you could find value in those middle to late rounds in your defensive, offensive linemen and receivers and running backs to kind of help build your team and roster. So that was where, some teams were looking at everything. But I think, once you get in free fall, it's hard to get out of it. And, when Vegas kept passing on him, Pittsburgh kept passing on him, Cleveland kept passing on him, it all of a sudden got bad to where I think if he dropped out of the 5th round, and we've seen a couple situations where, all of a sudden it's like, somebody please take this guy. And a team eventually does, but the Browns know quarterback circuses. Shedeur Sanders knows what it's like living under the big top in a circus. So maybe this is a match and marriage made for each other. We'll kind of see this year.
Joe Reedy of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Your eyeballs, you saw him 2 years ago. Who's better?
Gabriel or Sanders?
Yeah.
I've seen Dylan Gabriel twice last year. I saw him UCLA, Oregon, and then I saw him at the Rose Bowl where Ohio State Ohio State was up and there was no coming back. I would say right now Gabriel, because I've seen at different schools how it can adapt and be accurate and everything. So I think with the different systems he's been under too, that'll be an advantage too. Shador, how much can he handle a different playbook from the one of the past 3, 4, 5 years? And how much of it can he kind of prove that he's his own guy now and can prove teammates wrong and also prove that that he's going to kind of be his guy. I think the thing that's going to be at a disadvantage for him is that now he's here and now that he's a name and everything, if this team gets off to a slow start and everything, it's going to be when does he play? And that puts more pressure on the kid than maybe he deserves or should still get. I mean, heck, 2014, Browns got off to a 7-3 start. Brian Hoyer was playing solid, yet everybody's like, when's Johnny going to play? And it ended up that the Browns finished 7-9 that year. So, I mean, because the Browns were struggling in a game in Baltimore, all of a sudden they put Manziel in the fourth quarter. He plays well, and by that point, Pandora's box had been open, and there was no coming back from that. I think Stefanski's better as far as maybe knowing how to handle this and everything. It's not his first rodeo with quarterback controversies, so we'll see how it goes. It kind of takes a strong organization and a strong backing to say, give this kid time, and maybe he'll surprise. I mean, 2012, nobody expected anything out of Russell Wilson when he got picked in the third round. All of a sudden, he's a starter, and Drew Lock, who they paid a whole lot of money for, or the guy from Green Bay, not Drew Lock.
Matt
Flynn.
Yeah, there we go.
Matt Flynn, all of a sudden, it's like, okay, we got this guy with a ton of money. Well, what are we going to do with him? So, guys have surprised before, but,
Right.
in the NFL, you get picked for a reason, and we'll see how everything goes.
It's worth pointing out for guys, for what it's worth. The Browns do have 2 top 10 picks next year. A lot of folks do say it is a quarterback heavy class next year. Pro Football Focus has the Browns selecting Arch Manning next year. So I guess my original question that I didn't yet get to ask to you, Joe, was what's the perfect scenario? How does this play out in your mind this season for the Browns?
Perfect scenario. Joe Flacco gets them 10-7. They make the playoffs. Go out in the first round. Jacksonville goes 4-13. They get a top 10 pick, and they're able to go for it. They're able to go from there.
To take hypothetically another quarterback.
Yeah, to hypothetically take another quarterback. But here's the thing about Arch Manning, too. Everybody's on the Arch Manning train, but what has Arch done yet? I mean, it's been a
very
thing
speculative.
show at Texas. So, I mean, Arch Manning is going to be playing in the SEC next year, which is, big man's football. So, we'll see how he goes, but we really haven't seen Arch Manning at the level of hype that everybody has about him. So, hopefully it delivers, but at the moment we don't know.
Joe Reedy of the AP with us here on Main Street Sports today. Joe, man, we really appreciate your time and your insight and getting you on with us for a little bit, and look forward to catching up with. Hey, talk to us about the Cavs real quick before we go. They swept Miami. How obviously it's them and Boston on a collision course. What are you feeling?
I mean, the Indiana series is good. Indiana series is going to be good. I mean, Indiana took the season series 3-1, but they played 2 out of the last 3 regular season games where Indiana won 2 of them, when basically everybody was sitting everybody down. So, but still, when all the lineups were full and everything, it was a split. So we'll see. I think it's not going to be a rollover like the Miami series. I do think that probably this goes at least 6. But yeah, Boston and Boston and the Cavs look on a collision course, which Donovan Mitchell has had a heck of a series in the entire roster. Donovan Mitchell was a top seed with Utah 4 years ago. They got upset in the second round by the Clippers in 6. He's been using that as a lot of motivation for 15-0 in this season, in this year that they've had. Kind of like, we haven't proven anything yet. So yes, top seed is nice and everything, but there's still a lot of goals to accomplish and everything.
Joe, we appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you again soon.
No problem. Take care.
Thank you, Joe.
Let's take a break here as Wild and Wacky Wednesday continues on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll talk a little baseball. Stick around.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
April 30th, 1985, Dale Murphy hit a 2-run double in a 5-run 7th inning as the Atlanta Braves won 8-4 at Cincinnati. His 2 RBIs gave him 29 for the month of April, tying him with the 1977 effort by former Dodgers third baseman Ron Cey for most ever by a major leaguer in that month. That was this day in Braves history. 29 has since been surpassed by about 20 different guys. I guess that's probably a function of the Major League Baseball schedule and them starting games in late March now. But that number is not as, imposing as it was at the time, but still, congrats to Murph, 2-time NL MVP. Still needs to be a Hall of Famer, but that's another story for another day. Braves moved to 14-15 on the season with their second win in the Colorado series, defeating the Rockies last night 8-2, as we mentioned in the rundown. Colorado continuing to be putrid, basically. 4-25 with that loss, and everything that we said yesterday about the record-setting putridness continues. But a good start from A.J. Smith-Shawver before he got hit with a comebacker in his throwing elbow. 5 1/3 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, picked up the win. And the offense is continuing to come on. Olsen had 3 hits. Michael Harris drove in 3 runs. Eli White with a pair of extra base hits. Now, I guess you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt because, again, it is against Colorado. So how much can you put into it?
Can't put a lot into it in the moment, but, I mean, you can carry the vibes over, I think. And like I said yesterday, these are wins that you kind of got to get because the last thing you want is to sit there in September and say, man, how in the world did we lose 2 to Colorado? Or how in the world did we give that one away here and there? I mean, that's kind of the situation you don't want to be in. And you're taking care of business-like approach. The fact that you're doing what you're supposed to do is kind of signs of a team that has seemingly all but erased that bad start. So steps in the right direction, and you'll take probably not going to learn much, I wouldn't imagine, out of this series. But the fact that you maybe don't come out with any losses, that's your key.
That is,
you got LA coming to the crib this weekend. So I mean, you just want to get these wins and get rested.
There you go. And to that end, the Braves trail Colorado right now 2-1 in the bottom of the third. Chris Sale getting the start for Atlanta. Former Vol Chase Dolander getting the start for Colorado. And it struck me last night as I was watching Seth Halverson come in out of the bullpen for the Rockies. Colorado's got 3 ex-UT guys on their roster: Dolander, Halverson, and Jordan Beck out in the outfield, who we talked about a couple of weeks ago when he got sent down to Albuquerque. He's back, and he's starting and kind of living up to what they had expected from him the first time around. So I don't know what it is about UT guys in Colorado. We need to get with our buddy Thomas Harding out in Denver and see if there's anything out of the ordinary, if they've got a UT guy in their front office or anything. Obviously, Todd Helton is their Hall of Famer, but that's been a while. I don't know what or if there's an attraction or if it's just coincidental, but 3 guys out of the same college program on one team kind of catches your attention a little bit.
Yeah, especially obviously being kind of hyper aware of it here locally. So maybe, I mean, they could do worse. There are worse programs you could pluck some talent from, it seems like. So, but yeah, they have been bad to say the least. We mentioned the 4 wins. 3 of those were at home. So they got 1 lone road win this season, and I think it was the very first series of the year versus Tampa Bay. So they have been a new example of ineptitude, somehow better / I guess worse technically than the White Sox at this point.
They have lost 16 of their last 17 coming into this one. That's got to be rough for everybody. Players, managers, front office folks, popcorn sales. That's awful.
It goes back to what I said at the start of the Braves during that run when they were 0-7, right? I mean, the good news is it's a long season. The bad news about baseball, it's a long season.
Long season.
And, these guys are professionals. Everybody around the team, all the way down to your writers, are professionals. But you find out who's a pro's pro when you go through a season like the one they're going through.
Houston won last night 6-4, their second win of the series against the Tigers. Big night out of Yanier Diaz, 3 RBIs. Came back from 2 runs down early. We're needing to come back, or are needing to come back again today, because the Tigers are up 7-3 through 5. But, regardless, I mean, winning series, and the Astros have already claimed this series with wins Monday and Tuesday. A win today would have given them a sweep, and you always get greedy when you get the first 2. But realistically speaking, 2 out of 3 against a team as good as Detroit, you got to feel pretty good about that if you're Houston.
Yeah, you'll take that if you can get it. You do dare to dream about that sweep a little bit, especially when Scooball's not going today. So may not be in the cards for them. And we just had Joe on. The Guardians are nipping now right at the heels of the Tigers in that division because, Houston sneaking around the chicken coop, getting a couple nice wins. Just sitting a game back of the Mariners at the moment over there in the crowded AL West.
The New York Yankees do not have a game scheduled on May 29th, and Major League pitchers are celebrating that fact because last night they opened against Baltimore with 4 first-inning home runs, 3 straight to start the game. Trent Grisham, Aaron Judge, and Ben Rice, the first 3 hitters in the Yankees order, each went yard en route to a 15-3 victory over the Orioles. It's the second time this season. Cody Bellinger, after Paul Goldschmidt grounded out in the 4th spot, Bellinger hit another home run. So they hit 4 homers and 5 batters in the first inning. It's the second time this season they've done it. The first time was on March 29th against Milwaukee when they roughed up former Yankee pitcher Nestor Cortez. So, again, March 29th, they opened with 3 home runs, 4 in the inning. April 29th, they hit 4 home runs in the first, 3 consecutively to start the game. And, again, May 29th, they're off. Pitchers get a break.
Yeah, you don't want to see these guys at the end of the month. And just after we talked about the Mets and their run differential and overtaking the Yankees kind of come back. Don't quite get them. The guys over at Shea Stadium are still, a couple runs to the good here. But, yeah, man, when the Yankee offense is clicking, it is systematic destruction. The only solace for everybody kind of in the ALs, their offense is not always clicking. They have had a couple duds this season, but when they go off, they go off.
Clearly. Yeah, that was a 20-9 win over Milwaukee earlier in the season. That was part of the torpedo bat.
Remember those?
Frenzy that everybody was going on about. Seems to have died down a little bit, but maybe last night kicks it back up. We'll see. Speaking of the Mets, former Atlanta Braves reliever AJ Minter is dealing with a lat strain, or so they think. Pretty significant injury, surgery on the table. Was placed on the injured list over the weekend. Initially thought to be triceps tightness, but it is a left lat strain. That's his pitching shoulder. And there are thoughts that it could not be a strain, but a tear, which would require surgery, which would end his season, his first with the Mets after signing as a free agent over the offseason. And he was a guy, obviously, that they had high expectations for, and understandably so. 13 appearances with a 1.64 ERA already. Really been solid out of the bullpen for them after coming back from hip surgery over the offseason. So that's a piece that they were really counting on. And if this is as bad as it sounds, that's going to be a tough loss for them.
Absolutely. And, man, that's such a long season, and you always kind of have that hope, whether it's a positional player, whether it's a pitcher or reliever. When you have an injury, man, it just feels like it just hits you like a train, right? Because when you talk about season ending, considering the season is so long, that is a gut check in terms of your vibes right there. That is not good for Minter and the Mets. Kind of like the Dodgers in a sense, in theory, you spend all this cash and you're thinking top end production, but that also just maybe speaks to, we'll find out how much depth these guys are actually capable of when you talk about a loss of a guy like that.
There you go. Sound scored all 3 of their runs in the 5th last night down at Gwinnett in a 3-1 win. Oliver Dunn triples, scores on a throwing error on the play when he was hit by the ball and it kicked off in foul territory. That was the 3rd of the 3 runs, and the Sounds bullpen made it hold up after Carlos Rodriguez goes 4 and out. So nice win to start the series for the Sounds down at Gwinnett. They get back at it at 6:05 tonight. You can listen to the golden tones of Jeff Hem on 94.9 FM if you want to keep up with the sounds on the road. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will talk playoffs, as Jim Moore would say. Stick around.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, gets going right now. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. In our final segment, we will bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. Be sure and stick around for that. Right now, let's talk a little hoops, as a couple more series ended last night in NBA playoff action, with the Pacers down in Milwaukee 119-118 in overtime to win that one 4-1, and Boston, per expectation, taking care of Orlando 120-89 to win that one 4-1. Wade, walk me through the Bucks and Pacers though, and the end of it.
I really got nothing for you because I'd flipped this off momentarily. I mean, the Bucks are up 7 with 36 seconds left to play, and then I get a notification saying that the Pacers had won and saying that Giannis is fighting Halliburton's father, and I'm like, whoa, what have I missed here? I've missed a lot apparently. But what we saw was kind of a Doc Rivers special in a sense. They just absolutely gave up, it seemed like. I mean, they were flying. Gary Trent is hitting threes left, hit 4 threes in a row at one point in the overtime period, and then poof, in the blink of an eye, things crumbled. And props to Indiana for not letting their foot off the gas when seemingly it was almost as if Milwaukee just said, all right, we got this game and we got it secured. And then just the hoopla after the game, just kind of very odd, very bizarre. And who knows? I mean, the question, the NBA gossip community is wondering, is that the last time we see Giannis in a Bucks uniform? And what a weird and wild way it would be for him to go out.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just looking at this video here. It's the first time I've seen it, actually. But how is a dad getting in that situation?
Shades of John Morant's dad, right? I mean, sitting courtside and just, and the crazy part is, I don't know what level, but apparently Halliburton's dad is a ref, so that makes this story even crazier. It was insinuated, at least collegiately, so, man, just very odd. And Giannis is looking down. I mean, he's the Greek freak for a reason. He's just towering above him and just staring to the top of his skull. Ultimate intimidation move there by Giannis. And, it really stinks because after the game, Giannis immediately apologizes. And after the game, Halliburton says, hey, I got to get a better handle on my dad. Don't they know we got a talk show to do? I mean, we should be talking about this for the next 2 to 3 days. And instead, they squashed all the beef before it could even get going. I don't like that out of those.
Yeah, they needed to let that flare up for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But, sounds as if cooler heads have prevailed. But the bottom line, again, Milwaukee is done. They are headed to Cancun. And, man, if that was Giannis's last game, I mean, that's tough for a franchise, the way this thing wound up for them. With Dame likely to miss next year with the Achilles, and Giannis, where does he wind up if it's not Milwaukee?
That's the $1 million question. Your obvious thought would be Miami, because that's what Miami does. They seemingly get everybody in some shape, form, or fashion. New York is floated as the Nets, that is, Brooklyn, I should say, floated as a real sleeper, just in terms of the amount of cap space that they could potentially. They have some crazy cap space situation where if they chose to go a path of pursuing a Giannis, they could really open up a lot of money and make that happen. And then there's a wild theory out on the internet that, he ends up in Oklahoma City. And the thought process there is that OKC has just a bazillion assets and trade picks over the next couple of years, because the real weird and stinky part for the Bucks, they don't have any picks really coming up for the next couple of years, none of value. So the only way you do deal Giannis is if you can get some sort of haul back. But the downside is if you trade with a team that's competitive, your pick's not going to be that great. So they're kind of in a weird purgatory situation here. And, man, it feels like that window was there. We obviously got the one title. It feels like the window is certainly closed, and it feels like we should have got a lot more out of this team.
It does feel like that, but some of the moves that they made coming off of that championship were odd, to say the least. And yeah, it just feels like some of their wounds were self-inflicted as far as that goes. But yeah, you're right. It feels like there was more on the table for Milwaukee if this is the way it winds up. Tonight, Golden State and Minnesota both looking to close out their series on the road. Golden State at Houston, Minnesota at the Lakers. The visitors in each case lead 3-1. So we've got, apparently Jimmy is healthy, and that may not be a good thing for the Rockets.
Yeah, it feels like the Rockets had their chance, and, man, that series was hanging in the balance down the stretch just a couple of nights ago. Looked like we were going to be Dylan Brooks gets whistled for a foul that sends Jimmy to the line. They review it, and everybody in the building's holding their breath, because if they don't call that a foul, we're talking about a tie game and Houston with the ball. Maybe the series is 2-2 coming back into tonight. Instead, we know what happened. He makes all three. They end up winning the game, and now they have a commanding lead. It feels like they're down to their last gasp. Maybe they surprise me. They are a small favorite in tonight's game. Maybe they surprise me and get a win. I would lean, if you're going to pick me, make me pick, I'd lean Rockets tonight. And I'd lean Lakers a little bit tonight, just because that series has still been so odd. The Lakers aren't necessarily great, but I don't think the Wolves have played great either. They kind of have just cashed in on what's been in front of them. But it feels like LA might be able to rally the troops one more time at home as well tonight.
Missed a couple from last night. Detroit and the Knicks played.
Good game.
What looks like a thriller. Detroit 106-103, the final, cutting into that Knicks lead. The Knicks are up 3-2 in that one. Also, Denver takes a 3-2 lead with their 131-115 win over the Clippers, and playoff Kawhi, maybe not a thing at this point.
It may be still a thing, but he definitely took the night off. But what we did see was we saw a vintage Jamal Murray game as he went nuclear with 8 threes and 43 points. I'm going to go out on a real limb here and say that if Jamal Murray plays like that, there are not many teams that can beat the Nuggets. If you tell me that Jokic only scored 13 points and Denver won by that margin, I'd say you're crazy. It feels like if they can get Jamal. Also had a great game off the pine from Russell Westbrook, which you cannot bank on every game. But if you're going to get that kind of production, thought Denver would win at home, thought they would play well, but the script did not play out anything like I thought last night.
To the ice we go, as Toronto sounds like they kind of Toronto'd Ottawa with a 4-0 win over the Maple Leafs last night. Carolina closes out New Jersey 5-4 in double overtime. Also, the Golden Knights with an overtime victory, defeating the Wild 3-2 in OT, and Edmonton downs the Kings 3-1, taking a 3-2 lead in that series.
All kinds of fun last night, and this is why YouTube TV, give YouTube TV the props, because the multi-view was popping last night. When you got 4 games going, 2 hockey, 2 NBA, you got a second TV going for whatever else you want. Put an Astros game up if you're really bored and just see what's happening. Epic stuff last night, especially in the Wild Golden Knights game. Minnesota scores with about 1:15 left. You're thinking they win the game. There's a review for a kicking motion. They survived that review. But then upon a second challenge, the review was initiated by Toronto, the officials there. So they survived that one. But then Vegas comes back and challenges, says, well, maybe he was offside. They do rule him offside, and they go to overtime, and then Vegas survives. This has been a wild, wild series, and last night was no different. And, yeah, Toronto, just like Ann kind of said they were capable of. Had a chance to clinch it at home. They had already lost in Game 4, which would have been their first sweep in like 20-something years. So they threw that out the window, and then now they lose the chance to clinch at home. Be kind of cautious if you're Toronto. Maybe we shouldn't put the stamp just on them in Florida meeting in the semifinals just yet.
Maybe we talked that up a little bit too much because now they got to go back to Ottawa for Game 6. Yeah. Interesting. Tonight, you've got Montreal at Washington. The Caps trying to finish that one off. Florida trying to finish Tampa Bay on the road. They're up 3-1 going into this one. And the Blues and Winnipeg are tied at 2-2 coming into tonight's action at Winnipeg.
Another good slate, and I'm going to see Sinners again for the second time tonight. But the moment I get out of that movie this evening, I am going straight to Blues Jets, because Winnipeg, their home crowd. We've talked about some great barns this postseason, but Winnipeg, which is kind of what you might expect for a team that's won the President's Trophy, but they have been sensational at home with the whiteout. That place will be rocking. If you do buy into home ice advantage, it certainly will be with Winnipeg tonight. But St. Louis has showed a lot of heart in this series, much more than I have given them credit for. So I'm looking forward to a fascinating one, the late game on ESPN.
Told you we had some transfer portal news, and it's been kind of quiet here of late. So let's crank the portal back up. Tennessee gets a guy who I'm sure Nick McDevitt will be glad to see him leave the conference. Louisiana Tech guard Amari Abram is now a Vol, making his 4th stop at the collegiate level after starting his career at Ole Miss, continuing at Georgia Tech, and spending this past season down in Ruston. Averaged 12.3 points, 4.4 boards, and 1.7 assists with the Bulldogs of Conference USA this past season. Again, he is headed to UT as Tennessee continues to get work done in the portal.
I like what he's done here. He's gone west, east now with Ole Miss and Georgia Tech and then La Tech and Knoxville. He's kind of touring the Southeast, but getting a little different flavor every stop along the way.
I guess I don't know where he went to high school. I don't know where he's from. So, I mean, we don't really know where he began his odyssey heading to Ole Miss. But, yeah, that's kind of zigzagging it a little bit. Oxford, Atlanta, Ruston, Knoxville. Interesting stuff. 6'4". I guess he's a Chaz Lanier replacement, maybe?
At his very best, probably. That's what you're maybe hoping. I think the expectation there might be a smidge too high. But Tennessee's got to pull off some moves like this because they have gotten, obviously, some big targets. They do have a massive signee coming. But we say it about every sport, but it feels like, especially when we come – that roster, when you get into tournament time, guys, you know that you go 6, 7, 8 off the bench in the regular season. Conference tournament or conference season, it kind of shrinks a little bit, and then NCAA tournament shrinks a little bit more. So the more guys you can kind of get like this with some real staying power, the better for Rick Barnes.
Meanwhile, not to be outdone, Mark Byington and the Commodores pick up yet another transfer, former Washington forward Tyler Harris, who averaged nearly 12 points a game and 5 rebounds for the Huskies of the Big Ten. Is headed to West End. 6'8", 190, small forward. He's got 2 years of eligibility left, apparently. Played last year at Washington, came to the Huskies from Portland, where he had spent a year. Shot 49% from the floor and 49% from three. 45 of 91 from behind the arc. Had 20 or more on 4 different occasions last season. Had a double-double against UCLA and one against Nebraska. So, again, Byington continuing to do work with that roster. He will be their fourth different forward that they've picked up, along with North Carolina's Jalen Washington, Jacksonville State's Mason Nicholson, a.k.a. help me, Wade, Okereke?
What did we say? Okiriki?
You had it.
Yeah, I Googled it. Let me see here. Let me go back to
the kid from Cornell.
Yeah.
I'll stall for you.
And guards, our future CFO.
Yeah. Guards Frankie Collins from TCU and Mike James from NC State and Louisville before that. So, I mean, he has pretty much retooled this roster, but I guess they had to because they lost 7 guys.
Okereke.
There we go.
I think. I don't know. Now I'm looking. There's an NFL linebacker that played for the Giants. That was how he pronounced it. We'll get with the SID department at Vanderbilt. They'll fix this up for
as long as Kevin Ingram can pronounce it. That's really all that matters. I guess
that's exactly right.
Vanderbilt returns Devin McLaughlin, Tyler Nickel, and former Brentwood Academy standout Tyler Tanner from last year's team that went 20-13 and got to the NCAA's first time since 2017. So, again, Byington kind of riding that momentum in the transfer portal, picking up 6 for next year. So, let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We will continue with Wild and Wacky Wednesday after the break with Heather Williams as we talk some NASCAR. And in the final segment, Wade and I will bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. So stick around as we finish up strong after this.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
There we are. Welcome back to Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, fighting through some suddenly technical difficulties, but we're back, and we are joined now, audio only, by Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City. Heather must be on the move on this fine Wednesday afternoon. Heather, what's up?
Actually, no, just also fighting through some technical difficulties.
Understood. Enough said. Well, we appreciate you fighting through them and joining us in any capacity. Want to talk a little bit about Talladega, because we almost have to talk about the Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Chipper Jones situation, but take us through the race first of all.
I mean, so it was an interesting race, right? And NASCAR fans are pretty split on what they think about this race, how they feel about this race. Basically, in this generation of car, you have to save fuel. So they are only running 60 to 80%, except for the Toyotas. They decided they were going to try to run 100% and push the field. So they were probably running, for the most part, 80%, most of the field. But four wide, so it looks insane, and it is insane. It is still very difficult because you're running four wide, 4 inches apart from each other in any direction. There were not the big crashes like we're used to seeing at Talladega. Really only 2 cautions for on-track incidents, both hard wrecks for the people involved, but only like 3 cars involved in each wreck. So it was an okay race. The finish was fantastic. It was until second place winner got disqualified. One of the closest finishes in NASCAR history. So from that, it was good. But, you know, this is part of what is going on with the Joey Logano Austin Cindric thing, which you said we'll get to in a little bit. But it's much like running in freeway traffic, you know, 4 inches apart and on top of each other. The drivers get frustrated. Like, it's frustrating to try to, when you are in gridlock, make passes. So I thought it was a pretty entertaining race. It was not the greatest Talladega race I ever saw. It wasn't the worst Talladega race I've ever saw. I'd rather see this than them running around single file, playing follow the leader. So not bad, not great.
Cindric wins it, followed by Larson, William Byron, Noah Gragson, and Chase Elliott in your top 5. Bubba finishes 8th. Daniel Suarez, carrying the Trackhouse flag, finishes 9th. So nice showing for them. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, Daniel has more friends than Ross Chastain this week, for sure. The Toyotas are very happy with Ross right now.
So take us through the chatter afterwards. I mean, apparently Logano said something over the radio to his teammate, and Major League Baseball Hall of Famer Chipper Jones, of all people, got involved in the aftermath of that.
Yeah, so at the end of I think it was the second stage, the Chevys and the Fords were up front, and Austin Cindric had a chance in Joey's head to push Joey to the or another Ford to the stage win, but instead he made a move that helped Kyle Larson and Chevy win the stage, and Joey expressed his displeasure in Austin not being a great teammate and helping out a Ford teammate win the stage. There were lots of not suited for certain audience words in this radio communication, but you do have to understand something, and race fans have to understand that you're listening to their work channel, right? I mean, you don't get to listen to a headset on a NFL sideline. Like, you don't get to listen to that. So this is their work communication. This is not really, meant for our entertainment. We get to listen to it, and a lot of times it is darned entertaining. That meltdown from Joey Logano is very entertaining, but it's not there for our entertainment. So Austin, after he won, said that, and Joe, I got a chance to talk to Joey yesterday, and apparently that Austin and Joey are fine, but he said that he was trying not to wreck him, because if you hit people wrong or you have runs or whatever at Talladega, it's very easy to hit someone. So he backed off of him, being Joey. Austin backed off of Joey in an attempt not to wreck him. But Joey didn't see it that way. So, but Chipper Jones took exception to Joey Logano calling out his teammate, and said he was not a very good teammate, which, I would say that Joey would probably admit that he's not the best teammate. Like, he's about Joey first, and Joey's team and Joey's sponsors and Joey's responsibilities first. He can, do what's best for the team when he needs to. Like, he would probably push a Ford rather than a Chevy to a victory. But if he thought he could win, he'd leave them all. Like, that's who Joey is. But Chipper took exception to that, and hence started the fight. Joey did say yesterday to another reporter at the event I was at yesterday that he never had any beef with Chipper, and he just came out of left field and he has no idea. He's like, apparently I got beef now. But it's a
little bit of drama that we didn't know we needed, but now, give us all of that.
I did not know I needed a Joey Logano Chipper Jones feud in my life, but here we are. Apparently Joey didn't know he needed it either.
Apparently Joey didn't, and the upshot of Joey was, I used to be a Braves fan, but I guess I'm not now. I'm like, hey, hold up. Yeah. Chipper don't play for the Braves no more. Ease up.
Well, but it's like he's related to the Braves the same way George Brett is to the Royals. Like, he is the Braves.
Oh, I absolutely get it. But yeah, that was a little extra spice to Talladega. Anything else coming out of there that caught your eye, caught your attention as we wrap that up?
I mentioned the Toyotas are frustrated with Ross Chastain because it's really hard to explain this without you seeing the visuals, but you have to pit in a pack of cars. So usually manufacturers pit together. So a group of Toyotas plus the 3 Spire Motorsports cars, they all got together, pitted together so that they could draft together, so they're keeping speed. So they had already pitted. they're running around at 190 miles per hour. The rest of the Chevy's pit. They're merging back onto the track. They're not up to full speed yet. They're going 150 miles per hour. Ross Chastain decides, I'm going to slow these Toyotas down so the Chevys, because he's the last guy in the Chevy train. I'm going to pull in front of these Toyotas so that they all have to slow down, and then the Chevys are all in first place, because if he doesn't, then they blow by them because they're going 40 miles an hour faster. So he does. He pulls out right in front of, like the guy that pulls out in front of you in traffic that's going way too slow, slows the whole Toyota group down, and they get bogged back there in 15th place, and they can't ever get back up to the front. A couple of them did. You mentioned Bubba. But for the most part, they mostly got bogged back in traffic, and they were just stuck there for the rest of the race. So they were very unhappy with Ross Chastain, which I thought, Ross was kind of past this part of his career where he was getting people mad at him. But apparently we're back on the everybody hates Ross train. Except for the Chevys. They were very happy with Ross. They had a chance to win.
So the black hat is back on for Chastain then.
For sure.
That's wild. Heather Williams of WCYB-TV out of Johnson City joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, talking a little NASCAR. Texas this weekend.
Yes.
What are you thinking?
Well, I think it's really funny that there is a segment of the NASCAR community that is looking to Texas to save us from bad racing. Anyone that has followed NASCAR for a long time knows that just 4 short years ago, before the next gen car, Texas was pretty widely regarded as the worst track on the schedule as far as racing goes. Just terrible racing, boring racing, strung out, no passing, just a terrible place to go watch a race. But with this next gen car, these cars perform, and we've talked about this several times, exceedingly well on the 1.5 mile intermediate sized tracks. Your Nashville's, your Texas, your Vegas, your Kansas. So since Texas is one of those intermediate tracks, everybody is really excited to go to Texas because Talladega's been lackluster Talladega race. Bristol was obviously a lackluster Bristol race. Martinsville wasn't that great. Darlington was okay because it's kind of an intermediate track. Not really, it behaves a little bit different, but that was not a bad race. So all hail Texas. We're all excited to go to Texas now, which just cracks me up because NASCAR fans are a hoot. They're never, they like things and they're nostalgic about things in the moment, but everybody's excited about Texas, and hopefully it'll be a pretty good race. As I mentioned, these cars race pretty well on the intermediate sized tracks, and we're getting ready to go on a big run of those because we've got Texas, Kansas, then we've got the All-Star race, but then Charlotte and Nashville. So we've got a nice run of intermediate sized tracks coming up. So hopefully the malcontents of NASCAR will have a good month of May. Like, it'll be good.
Does the is the excitement warranted in your mind? Are you anticipating a good one this weekend?
I think it'll be pretty good. As far as the 1.5 mile goes, Texas is still on the low end. It's not the greatest. Kansas in 2 weeks, that's probably the best 1.5 mile intermediate type track that we have out there. With Nashville pretty close and Charlotte pretty close. So I expect it to be a good race. I think that there are better races coming up on the schedule, but the 1.5 mile's always put on a great show.
Heather, I wanted to ask you too, real quick. Let's going back to the comments on the radio with Logano. I'm kind of fascinated by this because you'll see this on F1 as well, and I'm always curious, how do you blend, or how do the TV execs blend commentary that is spicy, but it's going to grab some ratings, and those are the ones that kind of go public? Or how do you kind of walk that line between entertainment and kind of keeping those private conversations private? How do you think that works, at least?
I mean, I think that it's pretty much anything's fair game that's not like team sensitive material, which they have private radios mostly for that, or they talk in code words. All of the teams and the drivers understand that anything that's on those radios is out there in the public for the public to hear. Way back in the day, they used to fine drivers for cursing on there. Dale Jr. is well aware of that. That is no longer a thing, and I think that's good. That is team communication. It's not, just kind of listen at your own peril. You know that. I mean, you know that that's going to happen. So, do you want to put a set of headphones on your 10-year-old and let them listen to Joey Logano? Understand that Joey Logano might have a tirade about Austin Cindric that has a bunch of MFers in it. That's just kind of the way it is. That's why you have parents. But I think that they all understand. Sorry, so little side commentary there.
No, that you're absolutely right. If either you let little Johnny listen at his own peril, or you don't let him listen. So,
yeah. Well, there are certainly drivers that for the most part would be completely PG for kids to listen to if you want your kid on headset. I mean, if I'm being fair, there are plenty of drivers that.
You can listen to this driver, but don't you dare go cutting on Joey Logano's channel. If I find out you're listening to Joey Logano radio, your days on the headset are over.
Or these parents Kyle Busch or Denny Hamlin, probably Bubba, but I think Zane Smith's radio is probably fine. So, it is what it is. But, I mean, they're not – I'm sure that most kids have heard most of those words watching HBO anyway, or Netflix. So I'm not sure.
Or on their local playground.
Right. But so they quit finding drivers for cursing. I think that's a good thing. I mean, in the moment, you can't stop that. In my opinion.
And I do love it too when they don't even give you the subtitles. You just kind of have to react, and then you just get a string of beeps. Or sometimes, in F1 even it's just literally the whole screen is just a blank. And you kind of have to just use your own imagination. It inspires my creativity a little bit sometimes when you're watching these races.
Well, I don't think that Logano's tirade left much creativity. Like, you knew exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you could fill in the blanks with only so many words there.
And he threw in some, he used his words. Like, it wasn't just expletives. There were actually words in between it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Those are my favorite ones where it's just literally they show the subtitle and it's just blank. It's a string of curse words at that point.
Beep, 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 beep. Sounds like Morse code.
Correct. Those are fun because they're in the moment and they're doing this while trying to stay out of danger, going hundreds of miles an hour, which is that's all just mind blowing to me.
Yeah, I think it would be really entertaining if there was a way to do it without giving away strategy, to be able to listen to the headsets of NFL teams or listen to what's going on in baseball or basketball. I mean, they do a little bit of like mic'd up and huddle stuff with those guys, but it's much more difficult strategy wise to keep that down low, because the teams they just have an alternate channel if they want to talk to them. If you listen to those headset or to those driver channels, you'll hear them go click over to channel 2 real quick or something like that, or they'll use a code word like this time we're doing nachos or whatever, and then they know what that means.
Are any of the actual like pit crew per se ever on the same channel with the driver, or is it just usually that middleman, kind of that crew chief, or how does that breakdown work?
Usually on the headset, you'll just hear driver, crew chief, and spotter will be the three voices that you'll hear.
Because I'd like to get a mic on my guy Justin White at one point just to see, he's a good, clean Christian man. So, but I'd like to have a little dirt on him if he let loose with a few forward.
Yeah, they don't. They have headsets so they can hear, but I don't think they even give those guys microphones.
And that may be for the best.
Probably right.
Well, some of the crew members that I know, it's definitely for the best.
There you go. Heather Williams joining us here on Main Street Sports today as we talk a little NASCAR. Heather, so there's an article up on NASCAR.com, format for expanded 2025 NASCAR All-Star Race revealed.
Yes.
Is it different? And I mean, you know the base of knowledge that I'm coming at this from, but has this year's format changed from previous years in some way, shape, or form?
Not really. The biggest thing is they added 50 laps, so it's longer. Then they also have added 2 other things to it that kind of add a twist. They've added an OEM or manufacturer's title. Challenge. I can't remember what the exact name of it is, but anyway, the top driver. So whatever team has the least amount of drivers qualified for the All-Star race. So let's say it's Ford and they have 6 drivers. Then the top 6 drivers from Chevy and the top 6 from Toyota, along with those 6 from Ford, would compete, and whichever has the lowest average finish, of those drivers, wins the manufacturer's All-Star Challenge trophy. Okay. So they added that. Okay. And then the second thing that they added is, and this is the thing that's got people kind of riled up a little bit, is something called a promoter's caution. So basically, for no reason other than the race is boring, it's getting strung out, whatever, I'm bored, I need a bathroom break, whatever the reason may be, the promoter, which is Marcus Smith, or his designee, can throw a caution during a certain number of laps. I think it has to be after lap 100, after the lap 100 break, because they break at lap 100, but before lap 200, which is so before the last 50 laps of the race. But at any time in between there, he can just throw a caution for whatever reason to bunch the field back up. And I think that they did that because the last 2 years, the person who won just absolutely smoked everybody and ran away with it. And I think Joey Logano last year and Kyle Larson the year before led something like 190 plus laps of the 200 laps that they ran. So just to bunch it up and make it a little bit more interesting. But I think that's and I said this in my podcast last week, I think it's an interesting indictment on the fact that they have just decided, we know this is going to be a terrible race, so we've got to come up with a gimmick to make it interesting.
What about the pit crew challenge revisions?
So the only revision to that really is that they're allowing the open cars to be in it. So the way the All-Star race works, for you, Mo, and anyone else out there that might be listening that doesn't know, is to get in the All-Star race, you have to have won a race in the last year. And then there's a couple other different exceptions and stuff that change from year to year. But I think it's pretty much these days, it's just anyone who's won a race in the last really year and a half, because it's anyone that won in 2024 plus anyone that's won to this point in 2025. So like Josh Berry's in because he's already won. If you aren't one of those drivers, you run in what's called the All-Star Open. And the top 2 finishers in that, plus a winner of the fan vote, also advanced to the All-Star race. So the Pit Crew Challenge last year was only open to teams that were in the All-Star race. So if you had the best pit crew in the garage, but you hadn't won a race, you weren't eligible. So now all they've done is open up the Pit Crew Challenge to all the pit crews, regardless of whether they're already in the All-Star race or not.
Okay. All right.
Now, they used to do this back in the day. They used to do this like a huge production where they would take them inside a civic center in Charlotte, and they would do this. It was on Speed Channel, and it was a show, and it was actually great. The whole production of it, and it was really cool to like the pit guys to kind of get their day in the sun. So I think they're trying to bring some of that back a little bit because it was really fun, and they would get jacked about it. I mean, it was really, really exciting to see them go head to head.
All-Star Weekend is the weekend after Mother's Day, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Anything else that you need to make us aware of before we let you go, Heather?
No. We're inching ever closer to the baseball game here at Bristol.
Speaking of Chipper.
Yeah, speaking of Chipper, I assume he's going to be there. He was there the day they made the announcement that the game was coming here. Anyone in your area that wants to go, there are still tickets available, although they're close to selling out their initial allotment that they were going to sell, because they aren't planning on selling every ticket because the field's going to be pretty far no matter where you are. There are some places where it would be darn near impossible to see anything. You just be there to be there. So, but if they do sell out, they will open up more areas, So if somebody wants to go, they certainly will be able to go.
If they want to be there, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I mean, everybody that I've talked to in baseball is super excited about this. We got a chance when he was in Nashville to talk to Rob Manfred. We talked to the president of the Braves, talked to Pete Rose. God, I did not talk to Pete Rose. He's no longer with us. I've done none of these things.
He gone.
I talked to Johnny Bench. I've talked to a lot of people, and they are super excited about this event. Like it's going to be unlike anything that's ever happened in baseball.
Yeah, I was down at the Main Street Festival here in Franklin this weekend, and I had on some of my Braves gear, and I was standing in line waiting on some bad fish, but that's another story for another day. But somebody was asking me if I was going to Bristol, and I'm like, I don't know, just because I'm told that, it's going to be so hard to watch, really. I mean, it's obviously not like going to a baseball stadium per se. You've got the screens and everything else, and you'll be able to see the game, but you won't be necessarily as close as you used to be in. So
then that's fair. Based on what I've seen and been in there, what the sightlines are going to be and the way they're going to have it set up, it will be a better experience, in my opinion, than, say, going to a Final Four. If you've been to a Final Four, and I've covered a couple, that's like watching ants. Like you can't see anything. You just stare at the television the whole time. Baseball, inherently, because of the way it is, it's going to be a better experience because you still have more sounds, more immersion with the bat, the crack of the bat, and there's that kind of stuff. And they're kind of cramming it into the turn 2, like in that corner. And they're not selling the seats like in turn 4 that are way on the other side. Like those aren't seats that are even going to be available. So you're not going to be that far away. A little further than you would be at a regular baseball game. But I still think it's going to be a pretty decent fan experience. Right. Plus, it's going to be one of those things that you're just going to be able to tell, your grandkids that you were there.
And that's what I was saying to this guy. You're not going for the game. You're going for the experience, and you're going to say that you were there, basically.
And
so,
it was the same with the Battle of Bristol. I mean, most people that I know that went to that, and they did sell every ticket for that. They popped the football field right in the middle and said, "You're in, the Allison grandstands at the very top. Good luck. Watch." That's why we brought in Colossus, this big television screen, 4-sided. But people that were there, everybody to a T said they were glad that they were a part of that. The biggest crowd ever to watch a college football game, right? And it was a pretty good game. I mean, Virginia Tech jumped out there early. Tennessee came back, kind of dramatic, and won it. So, I would encourage people, if they're thinking about it, to do it, because I think it'll be. I've worked here for 10 years. Bristol Motor Speedway always puts on first-class events, regardless of what the actual game might be, whether it's a blowout, whether the race is terrible. The event itself is always first class.
Heather, that reminds me real quick. What would be a bigger event per se in Virginia Tech history? Would that be the Battle at the Bristol? I just discovered Metallica is actually playing at the Hokie Stadium next week. And it was not on my radar at all. But, I mean, I kind of want to go just to see Enter Sandman one time at Lane Stadium. But I didn't think it'd be Metallica playing live. So I'm curious which is going to be a bigger draw in Blacksburg for fans there, you think?
I mean, given what Metallica and Enter Sandman has become for Virginia Tech, I would think that that's probably a way bigger deal for them. Not that the Battle of Bristol wasn't cool, but they didn't win, so they don't really have the same, sentimental feeling towards that game as the Tennessee teams do. What's so funny about that game, in hindsight, now, what are we, 9 years removed from that, 2016? Was the moment that Virginia Tech fans started to realize that maybe Justin Fuente wasn't the guy, although they went on to the ACC championship game that year. But the way that game turned, that was when people started to question. And then the next year in 17 was really kind of the beginning of the end for him. But it was also the moment where Tennessee fans thought they had their guy in Butch Jones. I mean, how funny is 9 years? And how much have both programs been through in 9 years? Like, it's wild.
Oh, good Lord.
It helps when you got Josh Dobbs, Alvin Kamara, and Jawan Jennings. I will say that much.
Yeah, and they did. And look what they didn't do with all those guys. I mean, it's crazy. Although I had the same conversation this week with somebody about a certain former ETSU coach who last time I checked was a tight ends coach at Middleton or at Austin P, and who was a very well-known high school coach in the area. Because there are now 3 guys that were on his first team that this weekend either signed free agent NFL contracts or got rookie camp invites from that were ETSU football players.
Wow.
You're not saying, you're just saying, right?
Yeah, they won 4 games in 2 years with that level talent.
Heather Williams of WCYB-TV in Johnson City throwing a little shade as she leaves us here on this Wednesday.
No shade, just spitting out facts.
There we
I
go.
named no names. You can all figure out it, and I made no judgments. I'm just putting numbers out there for everyone.
Heather, as always, we appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, hopefully you will actually be able to see me next week.
Yes.
That would be great. Work on that.
I'll do my best.
We'll talk to you later.
See you guys.
See ya.
All right. Mark, are we breaking or not?
Not necessary.
Let it rip, potato chip.
Let it rip. Let's go then. Let's get wild and wacky Wednesday, the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. Let's start in Alabama, kind of southeast Alabama, I guess, if you're familiar with Alabama geography. Regardless of where you are in Alabama, you would not expect to see a kangaroo running around on the interstate. But that's what motorists along I-85 between Montgomery and Auburn saw yesterday. Sheila, a runaway kangaroo, shut down a stretch of I-85 before Alabama state troopers and Sheila's owner were able to get Sheila back where she needed to be. She was hopping along I-85 in Macon County. I'm not familiar with exactly where Macon County is, but the date line on this story is Tuskegee. And again, 85 runs between Montgomery and Auburn and eventually into Columbus and Atlanta. The site snarled traffic and state troopers shut down both sides of the interstate for the safety of motorists. Again, the owner used a dart to tranquilize the animal, get it back where it needed to be. Just got out of her enclosure, apparently. Was treated by Auburn's College of Veterinary Medicine, got her rehydrated and fed, and she's back home. She's a sweet pet. I'm glad she's back home, and I'm glad everybody slowed down a little bit, the owner said. Kangaroos along interstates in Alabama. Y'all be careful down there.
I love this too, by the way. They run a petting zoo, but no, this is just our pet. So that either means you got to have another kangaroo or you're shortchanging your customers, right?
Yeah, we want to see Sheila.
Yeah, I mean, she's especially now. You got to make her available.
She's kind of famous.
There's Instagram pictures that got to be taken, folks. Get this beautiful kangaroo out in front of a camera or two.
For sure. Let's go from Sheila to a guy in New Jersey who somehow came into ownership of nearly $60,000 worth of chips from a casino that closed 40 years ago. Tried to cash in 389 chips, which were worth $59,500. Got them at an online auction. The Playboy Hotel and Casino had issued these chips from 1981 to 1984. Again, this guy tried to cash these in with the Treasury Department's Unclaimed Property Administration, which had been responsible for covering the redemption of outstanding chips. Apparently, it was found that The chips were supposed to have been destroyed. A former employee of the company in charge of destroying them had stolen several boxes of unused chips around 1990 and just stashed them away. Said employee declared bankruptcy, forgot about the bank deposit box that he had put them in. 20 years later, they resurface, get sent to an auction house. This guy buys them, tries to redeem them, and they're like, no, we can't do this. I don't know what he paid for them.
That's what I'm wondering. This feels like he thought he had a ace up his sleeve, if you will, because, hey,
if you will,
he's doing the math. He's like, all right, this is $60,000 worth of loot. I'm buying these chips for $1,000. Well, it sounds like $1,000 down the drain. I see what you did there, trying to attempt the scam, but just at least he's got poker night covered for his friends the next time he brings everybody over.
Yeah, right. Wade, you're a little bit more of an outdoors person than I am. If you have been rescued via airlift from a mountain, are you going back up the mountain again? Up that mountain again?
Probably not. Probably not. No.
Okay. A climber airlifted with altitude sickness from close to the peak of Mount Fuji in Japan last week went back up and was rescued a second time in the same manner. 27-year-old Chinese student living in Japan made an emergency call, was airlifted after developing symptoms of altitude sickness, went back up again 4 days later to look for his cell phone and other belongings left behind, apparently developed altitude sickness for a second time. No word on whether he found his stuff, but had to be again airlifted back down to safety. No charge or penalty when a climber needs to be rescued, but a bunch of folks got on this guy on social media for the second occurrence, actually. This is a 12,000 foot high mountain that this guy has gone up and had to be rescued from. You're not going to see me up there once, and you're definitely not going to see me up there twice in 4 days. So,
I mean, what is on the cell phone? We all say we can't live without our phones. What is on the phone that you got to go back up and look around and you think you're going to find it? I don't know. The only way I would, and I'm not a climber by any means, but if I was dangerously close to summiting and, it was just a deal where we had to turn back or, I did have to be brought down, I might do it for the challenge. I'm not going back up there looking for an iPhone. No, I mean, there's got to be some major, data on there that is enormous in value before I'm even considering it for that reason. Otherwise, this is ridiculous.
Well, and even at that, I mean, you got it saved to the cloud, right? But I mean, to your point, though, if you were close to summiting, you just for the challenge, I was so close. Yeah, I mean, I get that. That makes sense. But yeah, for an iPhone, no, I think I'd let my insurance cover that and go on about my business. So, that is going to do it for Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. It was pretty wild. It was pretty wacky. Thanks to Joe Reedy and thanks to Heather Williams for joining us today. Tomorrow on Coach's Corner, we have Troy Bond, former Brentwood boys basketball coach. He's got a clinic coming up this weekend he's going to tell us about. Also, we've got C.L. Brown from the Louisville Courier-Journal joining us to talk Derby. Come back 2:00 tomorrow. We'll see y'all then.